We're reviewing the paramis, and here we are at patience. Here we are. Many of us in the modern world live in an impatient society. It seems like we're always running around trying to get our to-do list done, and other people and problems keep getting in our way. Isn't that what it seems like? Patience, patience. It's not a flashy virtue, but it's one that can help us with a bit more ease and composure to meet the pushiness of our everyday life. But how do we grow patience? Really, how do we grow it? I suggest that it grows on the back of all of the times we are impatient. It is an in-the-moment practice. Otherwise, it's merely hypothetical. Impatience arises unbidden. We don't encourage it. It just appears. And there it is, right? And you never really know when it's going to arise. So growing patience often starts with catching ourselves in the act of being impatient. And this is the hard part, seeing it. Because it means that we have to be on the lookout for the signs of impatience. And who wants to notice these? How do we know when impatience is on the scene? What signs, what clues tell us that we're feeling impatient? Think about that for you. Often we don't notice. We don't notice, or we don't want to notice because it doesn't feel good, not in our bodies anyway. And because generally we're in our heads. Generally, we stay in the mind ranting to ourselves about why the person in front of us is taking so long, why they can't hurry up, how they are interfering with our plans of what we want to do, have to do, where we have to be. And we keep reviewing the list of gripes over and over again until it's our turn or until it passes. And does all of this mental machination really help? I mean, does it make us feel better? Does it make the line move any faster? Does it increase our enjoyment of the moment? Right? Most likely, the answer to these questions is no, but we do it anyway. We have a long history of living out of our minds, of believing our version of reality and rehearsing and repeating our version of reality over and over again. Well, this yammering is actually a sign, a clue that impatience is on the scene or has in fact taken over. And if we notice the yammering, which is not always easy to do, we can begin to slowly back out of that exhausting habit and soothe the ranting, impatient self. We can learn to talk nicely to ourselves. There, my darling, take a breath. This is what's happening. Ground, breathe, calm, settle, soothe, my darling. This too will pass. But if we miss the noise in our mind, well, gratefully, we have another opportunity of catching sight of it in our body. Because the body often gives off plenty of signs. It fidgets, it sweats, it gets pushy, pressurized, it shifts from foot to foot, posture to posture. It's breathing and heart rate and mood change. I think they can all be summed up as unpleasant. Can we notice the feelings of unpleasantness that are happening inside? Can we let ourselves notice and feel them? Because this is exactly what we want to feel. In order to back out of impatience and move in the direction of patience, we have to feel the scrappy energy of impatience. Allow those feelings to register long enough so that then we can begin to soften, settle, soothe, unwind. That's how it happens. So in other words, we want to start to feel the yuck of impatience and not to stay in it, but to figure out how to caringly watch over and feel it as it untangles itself, as it unwinds and unbinds and relaxes and releases, because it will. As quickly as possible, see if you can notice the body clues, because they are immediate. They're happening in the present moment, in real time. And that is where they can, want, and need to be tended to, is in the present moment. This is where they can be soothed and ministered to and wisely held so as to not feed impatience more. Yeah. Meeting impatience with impatience only breeds more impatience. Right? So this is what the unpleasant feelings need, is they really need to be soothed back into a place where it feels like there's enough space, back into a space of patience and acceptance, patience that we can't change what's really happening, but we can learn to relate to what is happening differently. We can train ourselves to start to see and feel and soothe the patterns of impatience for our own welfare and others' welfare. We can learn to soothe impatience, soothe the unpleasant feelings that come with impatience, and soothe the self that has gotten tweaked out. See it, feel it, soothe it. Another clue is, when does impatience arise? What do you know about that for yourself? We're all very different, and different situations will trigger impatience. What are the ones that you know about yourself where it gets triggered and activated? For me, moving to Boston and then learning to, live and drive in a city, I definitely feel my own and others' impatience. Driving, for example, holy smokes, that's been a big one for me. It's deeply stressful. Gratefully, I'll say, we gave up our car 8 years ago, and I am so grateful, truly so grateful, that I don't have to deal with driving anymore. But I get into the back of an Uber and a Lyft, and it's amazing to me how sometimes I notice that the driver of the Lyft really does seem to have this quality of patience. Like, they're not flustered. They're not flustered by the speed or the aggression. And meanwhile, I'm aware that in the back seat, I'm twizzled up, mindfully breathing to kind of calm my central nervous system, because I feel the activation. The cars are rushing this way and that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to get hit. What? Right? I can feel all of that. And they're just chill in the front seat driving. I mean, great practice. Negotiating personal space in crowded urban places like streets and trains and grocery lines. The impatience can be visible and audible when, a subway unexpectedly stops between stations for 5, 10, 15 minutes, and passengers get noticeably impatient. Oh, the air is thick with it. But does it have to disturb our peace of mind? Can our reactivity be seen and kindly tended to in real time? That's the real question. Can we talk nicely to ourselves, soothe our ruffled feathers, because we can't make the train start running. We can't stop the aggressive driver from pushing their way in. Does that really have to disturb our peace of mind? Notice the flurry of unkind thoughts. Notice the exasperation, the tension, the tightness, thickening the body as it contracts in on itself. Notice the constriction of the breath. Now keep breathing. Ground, breathe, calm, settle, soothe. There, my darling. This too will pass. This too will pass. Anticipating situations that may stir impatience gives us a leg up, because we know to be on the lookout for the signs and signals of its arising. Each time we notice impatient rearing its head, whenever we notice, we can practice soothing ourselves. We can practice interrupting the chatter of the mind and coming back down into the body and helping it to relax, to soften, to open up a little bit more breathing space. And so it can kindly come back to center. This is how we practice patience in real time. In all of the moments when we become impatient and notice it, when we see it and feel it, enough to let the feeling of impatience register. Good job for noticing. Good job for feeling. And honestly say that to yourself. Good job. Give yourself a mindfulness star because you've just seen something really important and that's hard to see. We're often so caught in the run of our thinking that we don't notice what's going on. So when you see it, give yourself a star. That stinger, we want to kindly, slowly remove. That's what's causing us pain. Now come back into the body breathing and smooth out the wrinkles. Stay grounded, let the storm pass overhead. Stay in the body breathing and tend to your own welfare. Ground, breathe, calm, settle, soothe. There, my darling. Talk nicely to yourself. Good job, my darling. We're learning the art of patience in the middle of our life. And that's the only place we really can learn it. Thank you for your kind attention.